On the 18th of March 1983, around 30 cubs arrived at Falkland Youth Hostel for what for many was their first weekend away with the cubs. Fortunately, the weather was great, so all the activities planned could be carried out. It was soon discovered that quite near the hostel there was a park, which was going to come quite useful during the weekend. Some of the cubs ran to tell Wendy about the park, and she rushed off keenly to see what it had to offer. Meanwhile, Gillian's lot became all religious and decided to check out the church, since it was a Sunday. They were actually doing the treasure hunt. Back at the park, some of the cubs were having some fun, but I think the person who was enjoying it most was Wendy, who can be seen standing in the background, wishing she could have a go on this thing. Go on, Wendy. Have a shot. She's just too embarrassed. Oh, she's moving towards it. Is she going to have a shot in this climbing frame? I think she could be. No. Well, the cubs were enjoying it anyway. Meanwhile, back at Falkland Palace, Mark was doing his treasure mapping trail. One of the activities involved looking at various buildings around Falkland and trying to find them on a map. Falkland Palace is in the background. Meanwhile, back at the park, Wendy's worked up enough courage to have a shot on the climbing frame. Hey. Incidentally, she spent most of her time in the park. The park proved useful also for wide games and the larger running around activities. In this wide game, some of the cubs have to catch some of the other cubs, and the ones that aren't catching any cubs are falling off the climbing frame. There was also parachute jump training. As the theme was a prison camp, we decided to teach them the art of parachute jumping, since it may come in handy sometime. This was shown to us by one of the expert parachute jumpers. Are we gonna go? No, can't. We're dropping it cold. Is it cold? Well, he'll be alright. He's good that and everything. He won't. This is a rare shot of Malcolm Reed controlling the cubs, lined up neatly in front of him. Possibly the main event of the weekend was on Saturday a visit to Anstruther Fish Museum and other things in Anstruther. Not that there is much in Anstruther, but I'm sure they all enjoyed it. An enthusiastic bunch of leaders escorting the cubs up the main street in Anstruther. The harbour proved quite a good attraction for the cubs. What a wonderful shot. Anstruther is a particularly attractive little village, and not touristy at all. There's a blue minibus over there. This is the final ritual when all the cubs jump on a leader. I think it was Mark Howitt's turn this time, just to show their appreciation of the weekend. And there are the cubs being lined up just before they're shot, with Malcolm Reed, since it was his fault in the first place for having a weekend.